I'm going to continue where I left off yesterday with the Star of Bethlehem in Michael Molnar's book. And I want to start by reading scripture from Matthew chapter 2, verses 9 and 10. It says, "When they had heard the king, they departed, and lo, the star which they saw in the east went before them till it came and stood over where the young child was. When they saw the star, they rejoiced with exceeding great joy." Okay, that tends to imply that they were following the star. They weren't. It wasn't a star to begin with. It wasn't a big bright star. Nobody else saw it. The king didn't know about it. The king's counselors didn't know about it. They all knew that there was going to be a Messiah, the great king. And anyway, so the morning of April 17, 6 BC, there was an astrological event where Jupiter, the regal planet, rose shortly before sunrise in the constellation of Aries. I explained this yesterday. Aries was the constellation that referred to Judea, Israel, Judea, Jerusalem. That meant there was a big king born, okay? Not just Jupiter. The moon was there. Of course, the moon at sunrise, you wouldn't see it. But anyways, the moon was in Aries at the time. Saturn was also in Aries at the time. This was a huge deal to these wise men who were looking for a sign. Anyway, what happened was, that was on April 17, 6 BC, when they first saw the sign. They loaded up their camels, however many there were in the entourage, and headed for Jerusalem, the capital of Judea, which is where the king's son, the next king, would have been born. That's why they went to see Herod. They came out, and they were looking, and all this time, Jupiter is moving. Okay, months go by, from April into October, November, December. The planets move through different constellations. So it had moved out of Aries into Taurus around June. And they're still on their way, or maybe they hadn't left yet, whatever. When they got to Herod, and they come out from Herod, they look up, and this star, Jupiter, had stopped in Taurus. It went back into Aries. And that's when they were they saw. Let me read the paraphrased, how he completes the paraphrase of Matthew 2, 9 and 10. It says, "And behold, the planet which they had seen at its heliacal rising went retrograde and became stationary above in the sky, which showed where the child was." It went retrograde as Earth went by it. It moved backward into Aries and stood, indicating, yes, Jupiter is in Aries. That refers to Judea. This is where the king is. Not in Bethlehem, not in a stable. There's not this big bright star hanging over a stable. That didn't do that. So that was it went back into Aries from Taurus. It went back into Aries around the end of October and stayed there into December. So we don't know exactly when the wise men came to the stable. It wasn't a stable. It was a home. They had moved into a home by then. Jacob probably got a job locally until Jesus grew. And then, of course, we know Herod asked the wise men when this star appeared, and then he went on to kill all the kids in Bethlehem, all the boys in Bethlehem that were 2 years and younger. So it had been months. But just to be safe, Herod was wiping out all the young boys. Of course, God warned Joseph and Mary to take the child and go to Egypt and be safe. And so they weren't there when the slaughter was going on. All of this stuff ties in to, the wise men were not at the stable the night Jesus was born, or the morning Jesus was born, whenever. So they were there as much as a year later, maybe. Well, no, they would have been at Herod's that fall. He was born in April. They were there, November, December time period, probably talking to Herod. So he was months old, close, 6 months old or whatever. Interesting stuff. Merry Christmas.